What's going on, everyone? Badger here. Make sure to like and sub, and let's get into this. Well, I hope you're ready for another Hollywood reboot of a classic that everyone loved, or at least tolerated, because they thought it was tangentially related to the Conan universe, which had Arnold Schwarzenegger, but not as Conan. Either way, people still like Bridget Nielsen as Sonja in the Red Sonja movie overall. And this reboot sounds exactly like you would expect from a reboot in 2024 starring a female character, which they just can't give the incarnation that originally made the character popular. They got to go with the 2024 version. And here we have it. Red Sonja Star reveals that upcoming reboot is very woman empowered, which is fine. It's obviously starring a woman named Red Sonja. Key difference here would be motivations of the character. Red Sonja is set to return to theaters later this year. And lead star Matilda Lutz has now revealed that filmmaker MJ Bassett's interpretation of the iconic fantasy character will be less male-gazed. And I just want to point out that this is right on the heel of every single thing that was made by women and marketed for women failing horribly. At least everything but Barbie. Madam Web, the Marvels, you know what it is. So let's see how this is going to go. This year's Red Sonja reboot hasn't had the easiest of journeys to the big screen, losing multiple filmmakers. I wonder why. Losing multiple filmmakers, including X-Men Helmer Bryan Singer, and even its main star, Thunderbolts, who I guess she went over to do the Thunderbolts, Hannah John Kamen. MJ Bassett has since stepped behind the camera to direct the action, with Matilda Lutz tapped to bring the iconic warrior to life in a movie fans hope will do the character justice. Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch of fans in current day that watched it in 85. Yeah, I'm sure it's not a bunch of older white men that mostly watched it or read the comic. But don't worry, we won't be talking about you guys. It's been nearly 4 decades since the character appeared in a movie, with Bridget Nielsen bringing the iconic hero to life way back in 1985. Now, in an interview with CBR at South by Southwest, Lutz shared new insights on how this iteration will differ from her predecessors. So what I could tell you, I don't know what she sounds like, but this is what I imagine she sounds like. So what I could tell you about Red Sonja is that the first ones in the comics were made with a very male-gazed orientation, she explained. This is a completely different story, and it's very women-empowered, which I loved about the script. Not everyone will be happy with that, given how sexual... That's the whole fucking point. Red Sonja is a big, sexy badass that goes around with their tits and ass hanging out, beating the shit and killing people. Yes, it's perfectly acceptable for women bosses when they're hot as fuck and look like this and use their sexuality as a weapon, as long as they're swords. It's the 80s movies, and the comics is a very 80s comic. She confirmed this version won't be depicted as a victim of sexual assault, course. And instead of delving into sexual politics, which is all right, the reboot will focus on the character as a human being in the world of femininity. What the fuck does that mean? A human being in the world of femininity, even though this is ostensibly the Hyborian age. It's supposed to be the same time, period, age, location as the Conan books. Joining Lutz in the cast are Wallace Day, Robert Sheehan, Michael Bisping, Martin Freud, Eliza, a bunch of people that won't matter. The latter will play Troll, a gladiator-type warrior who joins Sonja in her fight against the evil emperor. Sacha Baron Cohen was once approached to play the villainous magician, but is thought to have turned down the role. As a result, it is unclear whether the character is still in the movie, and if he is, who will play him. The beloved she-devil with there you go. Comic from 1973. Obviously, there was another comic put out in the 80s, as well as the movie with Bridget Nielsen, like I said, came right after the first Conan, which everyone loved. The beloved she-devil with a sword story began in comics in 1973 and is now 50 years later. She remains the greatest sword and sorcery female heroine of all time. The greatest? Not about the greatest, but she's certainly one of the fucking top dogs. She's hacked and slashed her way into the hearts of fantasy and comic fans all around the world. Inspired by the sword and sorcery comic books of the same name from Dynamite Entertainment, the Red Sonja movie is based on the heroine created by Robert E. Howard and adapted by Roy Thomas. This version of the character is described as a fearsome warrior boasting a high degree of skill with the sword. There are no specific story details have been revealed. Well, we sure know the story isn't going to follow her actual origin story. And they always do this. They tell you how great the character is, and then he goes like, yeah, we're just basing it on that. It's inspired by, and then they leave out all the best traits of the character. Yeah, this to me smells DOA on arrival. Sounds when it comes out, it's going to be insufferable. Men won't go to see this because if you already said that it's not made for us, and then we'll get blamed for that later on when they say the same thing that happened with Ghostbusters, or no, it's Charlie's Angels, where they go, straight white men, this movie's not made for you. And then like 3 or 4 months later by the same person, why do straight white men not go see this movie? Well, because you told us it wasn't for us. You said it was not the male gaze. You don't want the male gaze, right? You do want the male gaze, just not the male gaze. You see what I did there? Anyway, dead on arrival, just like Madam Web and the Marvels. And I'm sure we'll see this main actress doing a cope interviews like Dakota Johnson talking about, oh, it started off as something completely different. Yeah. DOA, stop doing this. But I guess you got to learn. F around and find out. Enjoy finding out. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Do you think there's any chance this is going to be good? Or do you see the pattern recognition? And at this point, you just chalked up enough numbers like I did. And we're like, no, DOA, prove me wrong. But they won't. That's it. If you like, shared, and sub, thank you. If you're going to like, share, and sub, thank you. And
well, bye.